My name is Janelle Codiani. I'm the Executive Director at ātac, Downtown Arts and Music, formerly known as Amazing Things Arts Center. It's in the old firehouse in downtown Framingham. Right now, we're coming to you live from various places, not the venue. This is my living room, and not a historic firehouse. So we are a visual and performing arts center. We typically have feature programs, music, comedy, small scale theater. We have galleries that we usually exhibit in. We do open mics and figure drawing, all kinds of things like that. Right now, of course, we are closed for safety. The building is closed to the public for safety. And so we were doing all of this virtual programming. We are still doing featured shows on the weekends. We have this series Process, which is a series of artist talks that happen on the second and third Thursday of the month. And all of the previous Process talks that we've done are actually live on our Facebook page. You can see them under the videos, and I highly recommend you take a look at those, especially if you enjoy tonight, because they are individually so interesting, and as a collection, they are just really enlightening. So I definitely urge you to take a look at those. And I urge you to check out our website. We have all of our programming streaming embedded right in our website. All of our shows are free right now, donation only. We are a small arts organization struggling through this time, and so all of your attention and support and encouragement is appreciated. So that's ātac, that's me, that's what's happening there. So tonight, what's happening is Rosellen is going to give us a talk. She's going to talk about catharsis through creation. She's going to talk for a little while, and then she's going to take questions or comments, and you will be allowed to comment and ask. You can either unmute yourself and ask when it's time. You can just basically speak into the space. It's a really casual meeting time. Or if you feel shy or you have any kind of reason why you don't feel like doing that, you can put it in the chat and I'll relay it. To those of you watching at Facebook, hi, welcome. Thank you for being here. You can put your questions in the chat too, and I will be monitoring it. So if anybody sees my square and I look like I'm looking down at my phone, I'm not disinterested. I'm totally here paying attention. I'm just making sure that people who are watching through Facebook are getting the attention they deserve as well. So with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting the arts with your presence. And I'm going to pass it over to Rosellen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to be here and to just talk about my work a little bit, because especially with COVID-19 and the quarantine, it's a lot of time for introspection, and it's a lot of time that I've been like thinking about how I have so much work and so many thoughts about my work that feels like it's almost been gathering dust in my room, you know, and it's very nice to be able to given a platform to share and talk about my work. So thank you very much. And so I have a few pieces that I would like to show to people, and I wrote a little bit of I wrote something as well, like about catharsis through creation, because I think that it is not only is it necessary for my own life and dealing with my own emotions and feelings and just everything that goes on and kind of the chaos of being alive, especially during these times. I think that it can be helpful for many other people. So that's why I'm looking to share some of my my thoughts on this. So I wrote this down, so I'll read it. And so I'm not here to necessarily tell people that the world is inherently beautiful and that creation can save the world, as I'm not quite sure of that. There's so many different factors, but from my own experience and from what I believe to be is true, is that creativity can help you save yourself and cope with situations where you otherwise feel like you can't. And so that's that's what I'm here to talk about and just to show my work. And my own belief is that really energy is energy, and it depends on what you choose to do with it. And that even the most negative emotions can be transformed. And it's not about denying emotion, yet welcoming them. And it's not about necessarily fixing yourself or trying to be good at something, but collecting broken pieces of yourself and creating a mosaic and creating a new picture. Because I truly believe that, like, even the most negative situations or things that make you feel like you're completely broken can actually reveal something else, and there can be light that can shine through those cracks, and you can find refuge in these moments. So I think that and going on with creation and like art practice is that creation is first and foremost a merger of your inner and outer worlds. So it's about kind of looking within yourself, also looking around you. And as a visual artist, I'm constantly checking what's around me and trying to find beauty in small moments. And there's refuge in finding even just like, say that, like, I find that a lot of we give, like, when we live inside our heads, it can give us a lot of grief. And that if you step outside that and notice, say, color or light, that it can really relieve that for even like a moment. Like it can, like, just looking around you and saying that's interesting and taking interest in things around you. And that's I mean that's what I think the creative process is all about. It's about taking interest not only in things around you, it's taking interest in the world around you and just your inner self and your inner world. And your perspective matters. Everyone's perspective is unique, and it's a conglomerate of like so many different things, like how we grew up, I mean how there's some scientific data that talks about how there, like, if we saw the world through another person's eyes, we wouldn't even be able to recognize it, because the way our pupils see color, it's different from every person. And so our perspective is unique to ourselves. And I think that I think that sharing that part of yourself with the world and others, and talking about it, it's can be a learning experience for everyone. And you don't necessarily need to be a professional artist, or you don't even need to make art at all in the sense of like painting or drawing or wood carving or what have it. You can make art through gardening. You can even make art through like just your ideas, I mean, and writing them down, and finding complexities in just simple moments. It's not necessarily just about like creating something. It's, you know, it's about how you view the world and what your lens of through how you view it. And so I mean I've practiced this by going outside within nature, trying to go that you can play fun games with yourself, like going on a walk and searching for a specific type of color. Or you can say, today I want to see something orange, and seek that out and play these games with yourself. And it almost gives you a sense of relief that is very simple. Our problems aren't necessarily like the solutions to our problems aren't necessarily simple. Life isn't necessarily simple, but relief in the small moments is oftentimes very simple. So with that being said, a bit more about me. I am typically, I mean, I've had training throughout the years in various classes, but I came to the realization that I'm an artist by myself when I was around 13 years old, which is a shitty time. Pardon my language, it's a shitty time for most people. You're hormonal. Most people, I was like hormonal, frizzy hair, all that, and you feel like no one understands you, and you feel almost, especially as a young girl, it can be a very harsh world. People are critical, and you can be critical of yourself, and I felt like there were times in my life, and especially in my youth, where I felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to. And that's not necessarily true, but it was like this isolation within myself. And I found refuge, and I found relief through being able to transmute my emotions into art. So that's what I've continued to do, although like I've grown since then, in the sense I've taken classes so I can better express what I want to express, and just have a little bit more technicality, because there is something in my head that I want to talk about and I want to show. But oftentimes it's a mixture of that and also letting something be revealed. So sometimes when I'm painting or felting, I don't quite know, I'm not quite aware of how I'm feeling until the piece is completely done. And then I say, what is that? And it doesn't, and so, and it's like, it's not always pretty, and it's not always things I show people. But in a way, making art has taught me about myself, and to teach me just about, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but it's taught me about myself, and it can teach me about like my actual like emotions and what I'm not even necessarily like consciously feeling, if that makes sense. And so I have like, does anyone have any questions, by the way? Does anyone have any before I move on and show some of my work?
I have one. When you were talking, I liked when you were talking about choosing something to notice before you go out into the world to notice. I really appreciated that tidbit, and I'm I'd be curious to hear if you're conscious enough of that process to have a piece that you're like, oh, I remember that I was trying to notice this thing and it inspired this work, or if you have a story about that of any kind. But I really like the idea of it sounded like almost choosing to distract yourself, like sort of with mindfulness, which sounds like a kind of a contradiction, but
yeah, I mean, I think like it's not necessarily to distract myself as it is finding something to pay attention to, because I think it like distracting, like because I feel like the noise in my head and everything is like distracting enough. It's just distracting enough. So kind of taking a moment to get out of my head and just to like see all around me and look for something. It's like a fun little game. But actually, yeah, I have one story. Is I actually my aunt is an artist as well. She graduated from Rhode Island School of Design, and this is and I mean, we reconnected actually, and started talking a lot more frequently after my grandmother died unexpectedly. And the way that we started to communicate with one another is actually through this game. So we send each other pictures of things. We don't say any words. It's we don't say any words, and we send each other pictures of things, and then she'll say, look for something shiny, or like look, and you can like play this with your friends and everything. And it's amazing too, because I mean, my aunt actually like just got an art studio as well, and so we just we just like, it helps your like studio practice as well. And like sometimes words can't always explain what's going on. And so that's like just like one of my things with like connecting with people through just like very simple terms and just very simple like images, and just because I feel like sometimes it's hard to always connect with people, because like there's almost such a gravity to like existing, especially like nowadays. You know, like people are sick and scared for their like family and loved ones, and it's like, how are you? And then it almost feels like disingenuous, because I feel like most people would probably break down and cry. Like that's what it feels like the energy right now. And I feel like just these simple images, like look for moss, or sending just things in nature, or sending what you're working on without any words, that can be just enough. Like through connection, and like just enough to like connect with people, and also connect with yourself. So that's just a little side story about that. But
so I have a question, and I hope you don't mind. I am her mother.
I'm
But you know, I when you talk about process, so you will start working on a painting, and it will be a particular, it'll be evolving, and the end product, and I'm like, just preface this with, I am not an artist. My sister is, I am not, but I can sing really well. But the end thing that comes out is so different from what you started with. And I want to know how you get from point A to point Z, because it boggles my mind.
yeah, I mean, it definitely, I actually have a whole theory on this as well.
I have to hear it.
I have a theory. I have many thoughts, but it's actually that a lot of painting, I feel like paintings have a memory. So in that way, if I just don't like say I'm working on something, I oftentimes just start with no plan, and I just put a few colors down. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like, oh, here and here, and looking within like the negative spaces and things. And and so I just do not I just do not start with a plan. I don't, it's just like I just am chaotic. It's like my time to let loose. And say if I don't like something, it can almost like, or just the painting's not working as a whole, and there's one part I like that I really want to save. I we'll just ditch the whole thing. And I have to almost tell myself, like, well, it's still there in a way, like the layers underneath it, it's still there, and you can find ways for it to like shine through. But I'll just ditch the whole thing, and if it's not working completely, and sometimes it's like I don't always like what comes out of like my creative process. I don't always like it. Like I just see sometimes I'll paint something and it's like scary. Like I'm like, is that a demon? Like what is that? Like I'm like, I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, that has some truth to how I'm feeling, but I don't have to keep this. And it can still be there and I can still acknowledge it. And so it's almost like finding layers within myself. And so it's just like some digging layers until I find something that I don't want to I don't want to go on. Like there's like a quote by, I think it's Picasso, and he says I don't finish any paintings, I simply abandon them.
Oh,
yes. So it's like, and it's basically just like it, like I just see it and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do anymore, or like I really like this as a whole, or like something comes together, but it's almost like digging yet building at the same time. And just like I think it's like painting is just like a process of like self-discovery and finding like a flow, I guess, and with your feelings and colors and all of that. I hope that answers it.
it does. There was a particular process that you went through in the last painting you did at school. And you started out with something and then ended up with something that you called the beach. And you posted these pictures that were just amazing. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can show them on the screen, because what you started with and what you ended up with was just breathtaking. It was amazing. But you could see the progression. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, and that painting's actually really funny. It's currently at a gallery show. I would bring it up, or if it wasn't. But I actually so I did a painting and I really liked it. I grew attached to it. It was kind of this like abstract floral thing that I've been doing. And the teacher says, I've seen this painting before from you. You know this works, like let's go further. And I basically had to destroy it, and I was pissed. Like I was like mad about it. I was like I can't, it almost was like a grieving process in a weird way, because I started to like blame the teacher. I was like, why did she make me do that? And like in the middle of it, and then in the end piece, it actually felt like a completely new ground and a completely new direction for my work. So it was,
oh, I wish I could. I have it on my phone and I can't figure out, there's no way I can.
I'll post it maybe in yeah, something, I mean in the comments of the Facebook Live, but
no, I was thinking I could put it on the screen, but
I have a painting similar. 1 minute, I think.
But what it started out, so I'm asking about the process.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like letting go. It was almost like letting go of like a friend when I had to destroy it. Like I had grown so attached to it. Also, like I wasn't necessarily progressing, and it wasn't like evolving. Like it was just like so similar to my old work and the work that I've been doing. So I've been doing like it was kind of similar to some like abstract let me see if I can, some abstract florals that I've been doing in oil paint originally. Oh.
Right, that's what it looked like, and it you know what, that professor was right to tell you, like, that looks like something you've done before.
Yeah, she was totally right. She was totally right. So I mean, yeah, and then I created a landscape, which is very different. It was like actually representational, because sometimes I'm not totally like grounded within my work. I'm just like, ooh, woo, swirly, but yeah, I'm like, ooh, like colors and like having fun with it and not consciously processing anything. So yeah, that was definitely it definitely almost felt like an emotional experience, like how growth and stuff is sometimes very painful and very uncomfortable at first, and then you're happier at the end than you were with the original piece. So I feel like art is very synonymous with like the process of growing as a person, and you just discover more about yourself, and you discover your stubbornness, and it's a whole process of self-discovery.
Well, I'm trying to figure out a way to send so we can have a visual. It would be great, because what you ended up with was amazingly different.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe in another talk.
Maybe I'll post in some on the comments or something.
I don't know how to do that, hon.
I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that another time. But yeah, so does anyone else have any questions?
I do. So
Oh,
hey. Just based off of the last question about the process of painting, I was like then looking at your wool piece right behind you, and I was wondering if you have the same process with your wool pieces too, or do you just have sort of a plan before you do that?
I actually, my wool pieces, like I find that it's not quite as random, only because it's a lot more like actual labor that goes into painting is labor, but like wool, like with felting wool, it's like a lot more physical, and so it's like I try and have a little bit more of a direction in where I'm going, because like it's like wool's more expensive, and like it's just like I just like a good like direction. And it's also like with felting, I basically just like stab the wool with like wool. Yeah, wait, like so I have like my felting needle, and like so I just like basically I just like stab this like times until all the fibers like bind together. So it's not quite like the same. And like usually what I look for like in my wool pieces is like some kind of like natural element. Like let me bring out one of the pieces. So this one it's inspired by amoebas.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like just kind of
look at this one.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it.
Oh, we're both admiring it.
Yeah,
love it. The colors are so vibrant. I love that.
They're great.
Also like but like also like a mixture of like Fruit Loops.
Okay, I see the inspiration. I love it.
Fruit Loops? When did you ever have Fruit Loops?
I went like a phase.
I'll mute myself.
My mom never bought me Fruit Loops, so but I guess I'm in college. I was like, maybe now's the time to eat sugary cereals like a toddler, you know. But yeah, so it's like amoebas and like and I'm like and the one behind me is actually inspired by like particles. so it's like, I'm just kind of started with like the wool pieces. It's like I don't necessarily like start with like a set plan, but I will start like say in the middle and say, okay, I'm gonna work out and create like almost like a center where it's like growing from. if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I could totally see that with that one now, the way that you explained that, like it growing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
and in the center, like I like to do kind of the thing with wool pieces, like with like Jackson Pollock, he used to like sit in the middle of his paintings and like just go around it so he could kind of feel like a part of the painting. And that's kind of what I like to do with like especially my wool things, like just sitting in the middle of it and also like interacting like with the material. Like I'll like snuggle with my wool and like and just like I just love the material and like play with it. And yeah, it's definitely fun to play with. Or
I love it.
serious.
Thank you. It was nice to see you.
All right. Yeah, any other questions?
Are there specific colors that you like to use with wool as opposed to with painting or with oils?
With wool, I have a bit more knowledge of actually like where like the wool dyes come from. So I mean, I mean with colors, like with paintings, I love orange and blue, like the colors of like the Miami Dolphins, and like pink and just kind of light. And I usually start with like a yellow base. But with wool and fabrics, it's actually allowed me to explore and expand my palette, because I've like gotten into natural dyes. So I've done some workshops and I have like some examples here. Like this is actually dyed with a type of bug. It's dyed with like cochineal, which is a type of beetle. And
That's a beautiful looking beetle.
you're
color.
right.
I don't know. I feel like beetles are like dark and dreary.
It's a weird
but that's a beautiful color.
Yeah, it's very strange. Yeah, but and like I've like used like turmeric and stuff for the dyes, and like it just like the natural palette is kind of interesting because it's like picture like sometimes you want like I feel like the kind of like not natural colors, it's almost like candy. It can be like candy almost like and artificially, while like natural dyes have a little bit more like richness, much like spices or like just it's like a different kind of palette. So yeah, good question.
I have a question in the comments that says from Miles. Does the material you're using change the way you compose pieces or inspire you in a way that other mediums don't?
Let me think. Good question. I would say that like it really does. I mean, it really does. I like depend on like I would say like different materials that I'm using, like it definitely does vary, like because there is like the textural element to materials. So certain colors and just like trying to see what like textures work together is also like a big part of it. Like it's not only like just like seeing what colors look good together, like there's like textures as well. And like that can vary from material to material, because with oil paint, I've like it's interesting. There's some quote by some artist that it's color is a liar and a thief, And it's basically saying that like the way that you view color can be completely different based off, say, the lighting you're in, or the texture of the material itself, or I mean just the thickness of it. There's so many like various like factors in that. And so I would say, yeah, the material, like, it definitely, I would say it has less of an influence on color as much as it has like an influence on like textures and what colors look good together. Like, I wouldn't say that I try and use like a very full palette in everything I do, but I would say it has like a little bit more like influence based off of like what texture and what colors and just a flow of it. Yeah, let me show. Yeah, I mean, I have like, so I have like various things like I mean, like, versus like a painting and like, say, like this wool face. Like, these palettes are like inherently similar, but they're not necessarily like similar pieces. Like, there's like a lot more texture, and like that can like change the way you view color. And yeah, I mean, so it all depends. It all depends. Yeah.
We had an email question. Miles says, fabulous breakdown, thank you. And we had an email question that kind of overlaps that, which is there a medium that you work with that you feel the most free? And it sounds like that kind of butts up against what you were just talking about.
I feel the most free when I'm painting, and that's mostly because there's like, paint isn't quite a solid or like a liquid. It's kind of like a mixture of both, and so I can get free with it and make like loose brush strokes. Whether like felting, it's like hours of like labor and like stabbing, like just like this pretty much for hours and hours. So like, it's like I would feel like it's less like free as it is like meditative, and like I have to get into like the groove of it. But like, painting is very much free. But I will say, with painting, the more I work on it, the less free I feel. Because when I first like get a piece of canvas or a piece of like wood, I feel like I'm like, okay, I can just paint this and just I'll do the first few brush strokes, and then it gives me kind of a direction to go into, and which doesn't always work, and I'll restart something a million times, but I feel less and less free as I work on the painting more. I would say I feel the most free when I have a blank canvas and my paints, and that's when I feel the most free.
I actually asked that question, so thank you for answering it. And I agree, as an artist myself, I feel the same way, definitely with painting. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Rosellen, you have multiple people really invested in the progression of your beaches piece. And so I was emailed 2 photographs of the early start of it and the final, which I can share if you feel comfortable. Otherwise, putting them in the comments is fine as well.
Please share. Yeah.
All right, let me screen share that.
Doing the thumbs up.
So this one said the early one.
That's the start of it, and that's like an abstract floral, and I was like just feeling so free with those colors and messing around with it, and I was like so happy with it. I was like, I'm gonna be done like after this. Like, the teacher was like, no, you're not done. So she pushed me further and with it, and I'm very glad that she did in the end, because it feels like it's a pivotal like shift in how I'm like making art. So yeah, that's actually the ending. So is there one more of the?
These are the only two that I have, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, that's not quite the ending, but because I added like a little tree like on a cliff, but just fine. But that actually well, the assignment was to make the memory of a place with no photos or references or anything. So the teacher wanted us to just kind of like imagine a place and make a memory of it. And from like before, like what I started with, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have a memory. I was just doing whatever I wanted to. I was just like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And then I can make up some kind of like spiel about like, oh, it's a memory of springtime flower, like something, you know. I was like, oh, I can like make a spiel about it. But the teacher was like, no, like that's not really what we're like that's not the assignment. And she didn't give in to my my manipulation to try and keep the original painting, which I really liked. And so, but this is actually a memory of I spent a semester in Paros, Greece, which is like an incredible island in Greece, and the cliffs are made of marble. So it's just incredible. I mean, just breathtaking. It's like marble is growing out of the cliffs, and like basically this piece is like, it's emotional because it's kind of based off this one memory. My dog actually passed away while I was in Greece, and I didn't get the chance to say goodbye. But I do believe in like some kind of higher power, and me and my friend, we hiked up some cliffs, and it was a cloudy day, and we actually some like orange kind of broke through the sky, and it felt almost like a message that like my dog was like at peace, and like almost kind of just this like beautiful orange. Like I wasn't expecting to see anything. We climbed up the cliffs, but so that's actually the memory of kind of looking down at the beach from the cliffs and just seeing like that bit of orange in the gray sky. So this is it's a memory, and it's kind of a somber like painting, but still kind of, I believe like there's lots of hope in it, and just that kind of like light breaking through. And it actually, with the orange sky, that's part of like the original painting that I had done before. So basically I painted over like most of the whole thing blue, but I kept just some of the orange peeking through of my flowery kind of just orange and bright colors, and I just painted over it, and just so it kind of worked with the actual memory of like something shining through. And like also it goes, like I said earlier, how I can justify, and I tell myself paintings have a memory, so I can feel less bad about like painting things over, and there is like a sense of memory, layers and layers on something. So yeah. Yeah, that's that piece. Yeah. Right.
I have one more that was sent over, so I'll I'll share that one as well.
Sure thing.
I think it's the final.
We finally found the the final one, so I can't figure out how to send it, but I send it to Tom, and then Tom sends it to Janelle. So, but this is the final thing, which is what was interesting to me with your process, because it was that floral thing that your professor was like, oh, please, no. And this is what you ended up with.
Yeah. Yes. Like, so you get the whole size. And I saw a thing in the chat actually from Shira, and that because it's actually funny because I applied to this same, I've known Shira for years, and I applied to the program for the next year, and then the next day I figured out Shira was on the same island at the same program. Yeah, same program. I was like, what? Like it was a very coincidental thing. And she says, I also at a different time studied on that island, and my grandma passed away while I was there. I feel like it's definitely a place to say goodbye, and everything feels super rebirthy there too. And so that's definitely like a huge like influence, and like it almost even though like there's such like a strange like mysticism of Greece as well, like just like all like there are cliffs that have like churches built on them, and like it feels almost like a heavenly place, like the blue sky and just the white marble, and it's just amazing. Yeah, it was just amazing. But just sorry, a side note, but Mom, what were you saying about this painting? Hello.
I was just saying that I just was trying to understand how you got from that floral to this, but this one is, this one is really the finished product. And the colors are amazing. And now that you talk about the orange being, when we lost Georgie and Numna, and just this seeing the orange was like honoring them and healing. It's an amazing painting.
It really was. And I think like it almost felt like a tribute to them when I was doing it as well. When I was doing the original, I mean, I could like, if the assignment, and if I didn't have like the teacher there to actually push me to like the next step, I probably would have kept it that way. Like I probably would have kept it just like the floral. But I mean, I was pushed into a different direction, and that really like allowed me to like just create something that was maybe a little different, but still true to myself and to my style, and true to my feelings. And so yeah, it was just it was definitely like a learning process, and also like I feel like there's like symbolism and like having to kind of let go of something that you maybe really like and that you're comfortable with painting, and then finding something else that's beautiful and true within like another piece. And it's like you go through like a grieving process, and like then it's something completely new. And that kind of ties in with like the idea that like art's not necessarily trying to like that there's like healing properties to it, and like that's kind of like grief itself is like finally like accepting it too, like, and just making something. Yeah.
Oh no, I just lost connection.
Oh no, oh you're good.
Oh no, I can't see anything.
Well, I hear you. But yeah, so oh, I see. something from Tom. Oh, that's sweet, Tom. He says, when Beach goes to a lithograph, I'll be the head of the line to buy a second signed and numbered copy. Thank you very much.
Well, but Rosellen, you can hear me, right? You don't have room in your apartment for that painting, so you should bring it here.
Yeah, you know what? That's that's the pros of having an artist child. We might be temperamental and moody, but you get great decor.
Well, there you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, if there's any like final questions or thoughts or anything, I'm thinking we might want to wrap this up. Yeah, but
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
I will just say that you were probably 4 years old and you were in an artist gallery in Provincetown, and the artist walked up and looked at you and looked at me and said, "This child looks at art with an artist's eye."
Yeah.
And this is something that has always been your calling, and I appreciate hearing about your process.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, it's been certainly a journey, and it's been like certainly like a process of I think making art has been great for like figuring out more stuff about myself and like the world around me and doing things with my hands. So it's been a great like journey, and I'm excited about continuing the journey for the rest of my life. So yeah.
that is great. Rosellen, thank you so much. I really appreciated the parts of your process you offered that give us all like games and different ways to play with seeing and with being mindful with the present moment. I think that that's really, really necessary right now. I think you speak to the grief inherent in creating really beautifully. And as an artist myself, I definitely can relate to that when something is coming together and then it's no longer coming together because it wants to be a different thing. It is a very acute sort of grief and pain. But I think that your example of bravely moving forward with what something is telling you it wants to be is a definitely broadly applicable lesson, I think, for all of us, beyond creating and just moving through life. So I really appreciate that your work is so beautiful. It's really, really so beautiful. And I hope very much that we can have it hanging in an ātac when we are all able to be in presence together and appreciating texture and form in a way that the digital can't quite give us.
I love ātac. I was talking about it before, how I went through a period where I wasn't in art school anymore, and I was kind of I was at my mom's house in Massachusetts, and I would go to figure drawing there twice a month, and I had like a show there. So it's a really great organization, and thank you so much for giving a platform and a cool place for artists and creative people to come together, and in Massachusetts and wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, right now all over. Well, it is an honor. It's an honor to steward the work of artists, truly.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. If anybody has questions that they were too shy to ask or think of later, where can they find you?
So I have an Instagram. It's swamp_pixie, because I love the swamp. I have a whole thing, but so swamp_pixie. Also, you can find me on Facebook. My name is Rosellen Earl, ROSELLENEARL. So you can message me there and anything. Yeah. So All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that everyone wanted to hear me talk about my process and taking time out of their night. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.